Seminar discusses legal framework to facilitate economic trade. Calls for tougher measures on security companies who exploit workers. And rugby league fans eagerly await the Prime Minister's 13 clash.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and thanks for joining me again with Thursday's news. Papua New Guinea lacks the legal infrastructure needed to regulate trading and investment activities. PNG's Apex senior officials meeting representative Ivan Pomaliu said this today at the start of the 2015 United Nations Commission on International Trade Law South Pacific Seminar in Port Moresby. The seminar is focused on rule-based trade, a legal roadmap for the South Pacific.
On International Trade Law South Pacific Seminar was co-hosted by the XIII Regional Center for Asia and the Pacific, PNG Department of Justice and Attorney General, and the Ministry of Justice of the Republic of Korea. The seminar was a platform to talk about the importance of an improved legal framework in an increasingly economically interdependent world. A legal framework is important for the facilitation of international trade and investment. PNG's Apex senior officials meeting rep Ivan Pomaliu, who is also managing director for Investment Promotion Authority, acknowledged that PNG lacked the legal infrastructure to regulate trade, which is vital for economic growth, especially for a developing country.
Papua New Guinea, like in other small Pacific islands, lacks the legal infrastructure needed to adequately regulate its trading and investment activities.
With PNG now signing up to international conventions, Deputy Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika said it is important to have local domestic laws partner with the international conventions for effectiveness.
PNG is no longer isolated. It's not an island of its own anymore. We are part of the global community.
XIII plays an important role in developing that framework, offering solutions suitable to many different countries at different stages of economic development.
XIII's work to harmonize and provide standards for states to build domestic frameworks based on internationally accepted standards and practices presents a great opportunity for developing countries like ours to bring our legal frameworks up to speed and become more relevant to evolving trade and investment practices.
Joao Ribeiro, head of XIII RCAP, said business in aging economies have a challenge where older people consume less and save more. This affects their SMEs, who then look to younger economies for trade. This will then have a huge impact on cross-border trade.
We need to allow for a better bargaining contractual position for businesses in developing economies.
The seminar continues tomorrow with sessions focusing on international sale of goods, electronic commerce law, and coordinating trade law reforms in the Pacific region. It's hoped that the meetings will start the process of a legal framework for PNG, where SMEs will also be catered for. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
A former police commissioner has called for tougher measures against security companies who are knowingly exploiting their workers. Peter Aikilo, the general manager of Guard Dog Security, says the poor control over the years has resulted in untrained security guards being paid less than the minimum wage.
The security industry has long drawn the ire of the public for its unprofessionalism in many instances. Former police commissioner and guard dog boss Peter Aikilo says much of the problems stem from poor training.
I think by you animals, especially tamol kisimol all guards lo villages, now will bring him all come. Lack of understanding, the knowledge lo law, na lo what are they also legally entitled to.
He's also highlighted the fact that many security guards employed by smaller firms are underpaid and suffer some of the worst treatment in terms of labor exploitation.
Only no pay more security guards belong all this la minimum wages, one board determination this la pay. Only pay underpay more simply because only charge him all rate belong per hour rate belong all guards. Only charging mo 1 kina, 2 kina 50, na very low. Sambla 3 kina. So time only charging mo na income come. Lo all yet. You pay mo this la part of the money you'll suppose lo pay mo guards ya. All owners of the security company. All yet will use him again.
Guard Dog Securities is one of 3 companies that operate certified security training courses. This graduation this afternoon was attended by members of 5 different companies. The small event is marking a possible transition in the under-regulated security industry. As part of this transition, smaller companies are being given a grace period from now until February next year to comply with laws designed to improve standards. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Ley.
The University of Goroka has in place a new interim council. New council members were sworn in yesterday by Goroka Magistrate Gerard Vetunawa at the university's library. The appointments come after weeks of boycott by students of the university.
After almost 5 weeks of boycott and lockdown by UOG students, the University of Goroka has an interim council. The decision stems from a decision conferred by the powers of the Higher Education Act, which Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar appoints the interim council members. Yesterday, 8 members of the council were sworn in.
I hereby promise to uphold the laws of Papua New Guinea.
I hereby promise to uphold the laws of Papua New Guinea and contribute to the Council in the best interest of the University of Goroka and the people of Papua New Guinea.
It is only fitting that an interim council is called. Everything else after this is from the council.
Joseph Sukianov as Chancellor and Dr. Musawe Sinabaro as Pro-Chancellor. Other members include Lawrence Titimur, George Agustin, Dr. Alfred Tivinalik, Dr. Julie Kaman, Leslie Hoffman, Stephen Rere and Thais Sanson. Students of the university have promised Minister Tabaro to return to classes.
We should and we would like to be able to see the semester for this institution be completed. Basically, also have encouraged the students to think nationally of the country and the responsibility that they have for this country, to be teachers.
Minister Tabor says the petition presented by the students will be looked at and recommendations brought forward to the new interim council. Meanwhile, investigations on the current student unrest is still progressing. Jake Lapawe Jr., National MTV News, Goroka.
On the same note, the newly sworn-in University of Goroka Interim Council has appointed an acting Vice-Chancellor. He is Associate Professor Dr. John Kola. Interim Chancellor Joseph Sukwianomb said the council is conscious of the need to establish normalcy and stability in the running of the university. Dr. Kola will hold office until the completion of the investigation by an independent team into allegations leveled against the previous administration. The announcement was made this afternoon by Chairman Sukwianomb in the presence of council members. A disaster team will go out as soon as possible to assess the impact of El Niño conditions in the Eastern Highlands province. The team will comprise of top management officials from the provincial and district administrations. Eastern Highlands Governor Julie Soso made this announcement in Port Moresby today.
Governor Julie Soso says the team will comprise of top provincial officials because the province has lost confidence in the Provincial Disaster Office.
They have not been reporting on funds that have come before.
While Governor Soso says her office has received reports from individuals about conditions in their communities, an official visit needs to be conducted so government funding can be released based on the official assessment. She says this visit has been held up because of the reshuffle around the provincial administrator's position.
The people of Eastern Highlands, my government, my PC, we are committed, but after assessment report that comes into our office, we will support the people who are affected by the drought.
Sarah Aupong, National MTV News.
The Wawang Conservation Area in Ramu, Madang Province has won the prestigious United Nations Equator Prize. It was selected from a pool of more than 1,000 nominations across 126 countries. This is an award which recognizes community-led environmental initiatives. Wawang Conservation Project is an alliance of 10 clans protecting 10,000 hectares of forests from commercial logging. The winners will receive $10,000 and a trip to a community summit that parallels the 2015 Paris Climate Change Conference in November.
We got the news that Wanang Conservation was selected among 1,600 applicants from 126 countries. And among the applications, only 21 were chosen, and Wanang was one of the winners. And it included, it came from this Australasian region, including Australia, Papua New Guinea, and the Pacific. Wanang was the only one selected, and this is a UN Equator Prize. This is an international award given to communities that really strong in providing resilience in the face of climate change.
And among more stories coming up after this break, the opening of the National Education Conference in Goroka. Stay with us for that and more. Good to have you back with National EMTV News. Papua New Guinea must enable its education system to meet the regional education framework. Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar said more work in teachers' training, quality education, curriculum and policy must be the focus for this struggling sector. Minister Tabar stated this at the opening of the National Education Conference at the University of Goroka yesterday.
The National Education Conference kicked off on a high note yesterday with Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar, Acting Education Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra and HEST Acting Secretary Professor David Kavanamur present to witness its opening. It's a gathering to celebrate what the education sector has achieved, but underlining issues surround the delivery of education, its practitioners and stakeholders.
There must be ongoing development so that the academics and teachers are fed with what is new in order to enhance capacity building in the education sector.
A huge task is for better planning in all levels of our education system.
One, planning does have its technical side, the numbers, the budgets and so on. We do need technical competence at all levels, especially in a system with now more provinces and the districts and so on.
Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar said the education system has come a long way, but more work is needed in policy, curriculum and its standards.
Today Papua New Guinea is not yet there, while the National Executive Council and the Education Department and the Higher Education Department does realize our responsibility to improve our standing and our standards. We must make sure the acceptance on international scene is done.
Teachers' welfare, professional development, teachers' asset and career mobility were among presentations yesterday. Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News, Goroka.
Acting Education Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra says new education reforms are making progress but have many challenges. Speaking at the National Education Conference in Goroka, Dr. Kombra says the demand for a suitable reform is stretched.
The education sector has made substantial progress and advancement, but the rising challenges and budget constraints have placed tremendous demand on our system. The call for new strategies and ongoing reforms of the system to make it more user-friendly, applicable and meeting the acceptable global standards are already being laid out in various development documents.
The administration of the Bubia Lutheran Primary School outside of Lae City has achieved a milestone, the completion of a $500,000 kina building funded by student project fees paid by parents. The school's principal, James Timbing, says the project fees were collected from the last 2 years.
Today, Bubia Primary School in Morabes, Huengav District opened its newest classroom. This building, made up of 4 classrooms, was built from project fees collected from student school fees over the last 2 years. School Principal James Timbing said the school has been operating on students' project fees collected over the years.
What the board did was very smart, that they packed almost 100,000 each year from that project fees. And that's why we rolled on over two years, and that is what we did in 2014.
Huen Gulf MP Ross Simo and Morobe Governor Kelly Naru opened this two-story classroom after it was completed in 16 weeks. More than 1,000 students and their parents gathered to celebrate the opening of this 4-in-1 building.
That we have a building plan of 10 years that will include teachers' accommodation.
The school continues to plan for more developments. One involves the construction of another building similar to the one opened today. Colin Barilai, National MTV News, Leh.
East New Britain Police said the independence celebration in the province was trouble-free compared to previous years. No major law and order issues were reported during the week-long festivities. Much of the credit has been given to a joint effort by police and the general public for making law and order issues a community obligation. MTV's Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
The Independence Week in East New Britain Province was a colourful week of festivity. First, the celebrations that began on the 16th, then the 21st volcano anniversary on the 19th were two of the biggest and spectacular events in the province. In major events like these, policing has been the key element in maintaining stability and order. No major law and order issues were encountered during the celebrations, and much of the credit has been attributed to the work of the police force and other security personnel who provided security during the eventful week. Also, the general public received ovation from members of the police for taking law and order problems a personal responsibility to make the Independence Week a trouble-free one.
Celebrating them was a good play, come good yet.
But that is not all. Those in the informal sector have made a significant amount of revenue for themselves during the week-long festivity in the province.
The whole celebration was successful, and the place was very peaceful and everybody enjoyed it.
It's been a week and the celebrations have ended, but those who took part in the celebrations say they will remember the events over the next 12 months. Celebrations here in East New Britain was a positive one for the province. Not only was it free from major crimes, but it creates an avenue and provides high expectations for the province as it gears up to become PNG's tourism destination. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
Principal resource owners of the second LNG are in support of the government's decision to pipe gas to Caution Bay in Central Province. Making an appearance for the first time, the Pawaya Resource Owner Association from Wabo in Kikori District say they have made their position known to the government. They are the landowners of Petroleum Retention License Areas 15 and 39. They are holding opposite views to what the rest of the people of Gulf and its provincial leaders have been saying. This is the only group supporting the idea to have gas piped out and processed outside of Gulf Province. They will be meeting with the Petroleum and Energy Minister to present their position.
Process must go ahead.
The interim court injunction preventing the acting Eastern Highlands Provincial Administrator from taking office has been dissolved by the National Court. Lawyers acting on behalf of Governor Julie Soso and the acting Provincial Administrator Samson Akunai say this decision was handed down by Judge Kandakasi yesterday.
The lawyers Douglas Wayne from Warnashand Lawyers and Tony Waisi from Waisi Lawyers accompanied the Eastern Highlands Governor Julie Soso and Samson Akunai to a press conference today to announce this decision.
The court has recognized and respected the process leading up to the appointment, the acting appointment, which has been gazetted and signed by the Governor General.
The lawyers said the decision now puts to rest all matters concerning the appointment of the acting provincial administrator, and any other matters have to be taken up in a separate court.
In a separate court, most probably the judicial review, and not to
this step the current administration that was appointed by the NSC.
Governor Soso says because of this impasse at the top administration level, a lot of key infrastructure and social projects were put on hold, and hopes this court decision will now ensure those projects will move forward.
10 months, the Provincial Supply and Tenders Board sit down, moving more projects.
Samson Akunai has a lot of big plans for the province.
And I ask all public servants to hold hands with me to move the province forward. There's no other agenda. People first.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Now let's take a look at the finance news. The Kina closed 15 points lower at $0.3485 in the interbank market today. And at Bank South Pacific, our Kina was trading at $0.3410, $0.4836 Australian dollars, $0.3014 euro and 40.64 Japanese yen. Taking a look at commodity prices at New York close, coffee, cocoa and copper closed the day higher, while gold closed the day lower. Palm oil and copper closed lower as well, while crude oil closed the day higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed 51 points lower, the ASX closed at 98 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 105 points higher as well. Well, National EMTV News continues with stories making headlines overseas. Stay with us. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. Turning to regional news now, Kiribati's first president, Yeremia Tabai, has said it is not yet time to leave Kiribati due to climate change. He noted a Kiribati family that recently failed to secure climate refugee status in New Zealand resulted in their deportation. Tabai says overpopulation is Kiribati's primary concern, with the government working hard to ensure the Kiribati people do not have to leave their country. In Asia, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's security bill took a significant step forward after defeating a censure bill against him in the upper house of Parliament. Despite public disapproval and delayed tactics by the opposition, the government has been pushing through the controversial defensive legislation that could let its troops fight overseas for the first time since World War II. Japan's controversial security bills were approved in the upper house the previous Thursday, despite attempts by the opposition to physically block them. Scuffles ensued, but it wasn't enough to stop a bill that would allow Japanese troops to fight abroad for the first time since World War II. On Saturday, the legislation, which also triggered massive protests, was voted into law.
The legislation is necessary to protect the people's lives and peaceful way of living, and is for the purpose of preventing wars. I want to keep explaining the laws tenaciously and courteously.
The bill also bolsters US-Japan ties, with the US welcoming the move as both countries function increasingly for regional and global security. But Japanese citizens continue protesting as critics say it violates their right to live in peace and could embroil Japan in US-led conflicts.
Just because this law has been enacted doesn't mean we should let it pass. We can't just give up because it's passed. After all, it was passed in the most irregular way.
I am afraid that under the administration of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, we are getting closer and closer to the kind of right-wing government that existed before World War II.
Abe aims to formally revise Japan's pacifist constitution, which was written by former US occupation forces after its defeat in World War II. On Monday, opinion polls showed a significant drop in public support for Abe. For now, Japan remains a pacifist nation, but it's headed for a scenario where it could defend itself or an ally under attack. Abe has pledged to make changes to the law, while a majority of voters continue demanding reasons why. Well, 3 days after the kidnapping of 3 foreigners and a local woman in the Philippines, authorities continue to search for clues. The 2 Canadian tourists, a Norwegian resort manager, and a Filipino woman were kidnapped by gunmen at a resort late on Monday. EMTV's Alana Lay with this report.
Suspects of the kidnapping include Abu Sayyaf, an Islamist militant group that have been active in the Philippines for over 2 decades, and who recently declared an alliance with ISIS. Authorities discovered a motorized boat, known as a banca, that may have been used as a getaway, although more evidence remains to be found.
As of now, we don't have any information yet whose group who conducted that abduction.
The boats were found near a village 100 kilometers from the island where the kidnappings took place.
That's the only way that they can move out from ocean view. But the specifics of that banca is we are still conducting validation informations.
Despite a peace ultimatum reached last year between the government and the largest Muslim rebel group in the nation, many extremists continue to operate in the area. Alana Lay, EMTV World News.
Well, National EMTV News continues with Trukai Sports. That's coming up next. And players, fans, including the visiting Kangaroos, all set for Saturday's Prime Minister's 13 clash. I'll be back with all the details. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Well, welcome to Trukai Sports. The Papua New Guinea Kumuls and the Australian Kangaroos are all set for game day this weekend at the Sir John Guy Stadium here in Port Moresby. Both team captains and the coaches met this afternoon at a media conference. Apart from James Seguiaro, the bulk of the Australian team will be playing in PNG for the first time.
As Trent said, the boys are all obviously professionals, and they just watching them train yesterday, they pick it up pretty quick. And, yeah, I'm sure there'll be a few rocky moments and a little bit clunky from time to time, but yeah, I'm sure they'll iron it out quickly enough.
These young players get a taste of great footy leading to the future for them. The names you just said are most definitely the two that do come to mind, and I think you give them a few more years, they'll definitely be in the system and taking on the next few years for the boys.
Plus the young guys coming up, I think it's good to have that mixture. It'd be another story if we had all the young guys there and no experience. So I think that mixture is really healthy for us. But in saying that, I think this week hasn't been about fitness and it's just been about gelling as a unit for the amount of time that we've had.
It was one week, just looking forward to give up their game.
Well, rugby league fans in the nation's capital eagerly waited the arrival of the Kangaroos today ahead of this weekend's Prime Minister's 13 clash at the Sir John Guy Stadium in Port Moresby. Port Moresby-based fans are also excited to see some of their favourite NRL stars take the field.
The annual Prime Minister's 13 match between the Papua New Guinea Kumuls and the Australian Kangaroos always draws a massive crowd of rugby league enthusiasts. For the last 4 years, the PM's 13 match has been played outside of Port Moresby, and this year it will be back in the nation's capital, where the game will be played at the new-look Sir John Guy Stadium. Around Port Moresby, avid rugby league followers are eager for this weekend's big game.
I think the Prime Minister's 13 has a good chance against Australia. I mean, Australia has a pretty strong team behind them, but hopefully the boys can handle it this weekend.
Name belum mi John Truman, mi blogan, but me think was a game. Karan belum mi blogan, so me think was mi blogan win.
Me them junior mi think was a more Australia or come plenty of big name team ono come, so me believe was a Papua win him. It's like game. Now it's like game.
Rugby league fans always look forward to the PM's 13 clash, as it is also an opportunity for them to catch a glimpse of their NRL heroes who are part of the Kangaroos team.
One all big name players, Josh Reynolds, Daniel Motima, or some name players will come play. So I think you got good momentum numbers. So I think all good play on the good game.
Yes, Seguiaro, favorite player, Blomita, so I'm wearing green and gold. Also, I got 2 mind league.
You've heard it from the people who are right behind the PNG Kumuls. The Kumuls are yet to win a Prime Minister's 13 clash. The closest they've come was in 2007 when they drew 24 points all. Dion Kombang, National, MTV Sports.
Well, James Seguiaro arrived today with the rest of the team in the Australian 13 side. He was given a warm welcome by friends and family at the Jackson's International Airport, despite recent criticism in the media about him playing for the Kangaroos and not the Kumuls.
A small but enthusiastic crowd gathered outside the Jackson's International Airport with the Eastern Highlands and East New Britain flags and banners which read, "James Seguiaro, our hero, welcome home," most of whom were close family and friends. Amongst the crowd was James' uncle, Matthias Seguiaro, who said the family is happy with James playing for the Kangaroos and that he has created a pathway for other Papua New Guineans to play in the NRL.
Mi play with a family, mi hamas. Looking James come and tap PNG na play. But you may also PNG too much mas. Because James make him open road play you me. Lo get a Papua New Guinea too. Or beginning blow you me too almost play slow na go inside to the top rugby league law another.
The public has also expressed their views on Seguiaro playing for the Kangaroos.
Play one time play more league. But I'm grand blame all my blame all play one time so. I'm go play one time one time pro league but like I'm start one time all grow up one time all same more league.
So play on the Papua New Guinea but even not tintin dongane them I'm gonna join more Australia.
Still okay.
So I'm still okay. So I have no problem, just game me. One blah lose, one blah win.
Thank you, thank you too much. Thank you support them all.
Elijah Lavette, National, MTV Sports.
The PNG Kumuls are in great form after a solid training session yesterday, with the players being consistent with their ball handling skills and structured game plans. The Kumuls have their final team lineup and are in full training at the Sir John Guy Stadium. MTV's Rafaela Kaure reports.
The PNG Kumuls had another training session at the Sir John Guy Stadium under the guidance of Stanley Teppen and watchful eyes of assistant coach James Cobbs. Assistant coach Cobbs said they have some experience in the likes of David Loko, Richard Kambo and Sebastian Pandya.
Well, as we all know, the Kangaroos are a team to beat everywhere in rugby. Kangaroos are every rugby league nation, their focus is always to win Kangaroos. It's a challenge for all of us. In fact, the team is made up of all the local boys, which is a good experience for our local boys, and I know our boys are prepared. They will give their best on Saturday.
Cobbs said every member of the team knows what it's like to put on the red, black and gold, and with the expectation they will get from the crowd when playing on the home turf. The team Kumuls will have a total of 20 players. Patak said playing against the Australian side is always a challenge, but he believes in his team and their training and building up towards the game.
Just an individual sport where we all step up the game. It needs a team effort from the young guys as well to step up the game, and yeah, hopefully we all bring our best game forward and we can hopefully get a win.
Both captain and vice-captain are confident and say they will do their best with their fellow players for this weekend's game against the Australian Kangaroo. Rafaela Kaure, National, MTV Sports.
And in other rugby league news, Tent City Gold Rush Rangers continue to surpass expectations in Lay's rugby league competition, gaining this year's minor premiers. The youthful team has developed a player who is part of the Prime Minister's 13 team for this year's competition. The Rangers are focusing on winning the grand final.
Gold Rush Rangers is a little-known rugby league club in Lay's competition, but it has made its mark on the footy pitch. Commitment, determination, energy, discipline and the belief that they can walk amongst the greats in Lay's footy fraternity has brought them the minor premiership.
I'm so far I'm like minor premier. Minimum win grand final. Minor premier no is something atwok na commitment do you one mangia.
The team has stuck to the basics of rugby league. Though lacking in size, they have played with heart after losing several of their opening matches and forfeiting about 3. The success shows in their training that starts early and finishes when the sun sets.
So mibla lulu lo take one something one timer. Mibla les lo rasimo gara sanin so mibla kam.
The club has now gained the support needed, and the rewards are being seen with a player selected for the Prime Minister's 13th.
The team itself has been blessed by having 2 of our players in the PM's 13. One is the late Snakes Tigers captain, Sydney Fred, and the other one is Samuel Maniot. Samuel Maniot didn't play any Diesel Cup competition, didn't participate in any of the Diesel Cup competition this year, but he was directly picked out of our club directly into the PM's 13. That's a very big blessing for the team.
The club's matron and Gold Rush managing director Russell Gardner speaking after a recent Gold Rush Rangers training session. Bethany Harriman, National MTV Sports, Ley.
Well, Trukai Sports continues with Rugby World Cup after this break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Good to have you back with Trukai Sports. To the Rugby World Cup, the Australian Wallabies kicked off their Rugby World Cup campaign with a 15-point win over the Flying Fijians in the early hours of this morning. The Pooper combination of Michael Cooper and David Pocock proved to be a force in the forwards, while Matt Giteau and World Cup debutant Ezra Folau were superb in the backline attack.
19 minutes into the first half and Australia led 3-0 against the Pacific Nations rugby champs. But the Fijians were quick to rebound with Nemani Nandolo kicking a penalty goal after Australia was penalised.
As Nandolo gets the reply and scores a level at Millennium Stadium.
But minutes after, Australia's flanker, who turned into a number 8 overnight, David Pocock, would later score 2 back-to-back tries for the Wallabies.
Pocock has it at the back. Again, some offside play. There it is for Pocock. He got it down.
Australia led at half-time 18-3. 2 minutes into the second half saw a brilliant break by Israel Folau, and Kenya set up an easy try for Kepu.
Rob Simmons looking ominous, just 10 metres out. Kepu! Sekope Kepu! He smashed his way through.
Ben Volavola hit back, scoring Fiji's only try on the 59th minute, leaving the Aussies to now play defensive rugby.
Ben Volavola scores Fiji's first try.
The Fijians' attack placed the Aussies under enormous pressure, making it difficult to score their 4th try for a bonus point, which could prove decisive in the finals.
I thought it was a really good game, you know. It was a really good workout for us. It was physical. We covered a lot of metres. I think you could see at a certain stage during the second half was our first game for a while, so guys were blowing a bit, but exactly what we needed. I was really pleased with some of the things in the performance.
Fiji's captain said despite falling short against Australia, the team will focus on the positives for their next game against Wales in 8 days.
It's up to Australia for giving us a tough go, but at the end of the day, they come out victorious, and tough up for the boys. We've got another game next following week, and we're looking forward to that.
Lorraine Genia, National MTV Sports.
Well, following Australia's defeat over the Flying Fijians, it was a European affair as France took on an in-form Romanian side. France opened the scoreboard with a penalty 10 metres out. Romania equalised minutes later with another penalty, bringing the points to 3-3 20 minutes into half-time. France, however, dominated ball possession and field positioning after scoring 2 tries to close the first half, bringing the half-time score to 17 points to 6. Second half was much the same, with France kicking deep and running the ball wide. 5 tries to the men in blue saw France run away with a bonus try victory of 38 points to 11. Well, Trukai Sports wraps up on that note. The weather details for the next 24 hours, that's coming up next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In southern region, Port Moresby right through to Popondetta to look forward to mostly dry weather, with Port Moresby, Alatar and Popondetta to experience a maximum of 32 degrees. In Momase, mostly fine expected in Wau, Medang, Wewak, mostly dry in Ley and Bunnymoor, with a maximum of 32 degrees expected in Bunnymoor. In the islands region, all centres mostly fine and dry, with a maximum of 32 degrees expected in all centres. And lastly, in the islands region, we have dry weather, although morning fog to be expected, with a maximum of 26 degrees expected in Goroka and Kundiawa. And now let's take a quick recap of our main headlines again tonight before we go. Seminar discusses legal framework to facilitate economic trade. Also, calls for tougher measures on security companies who exploit workers. And rugby league fans eagerly await the Prime Minister's 13 clash due this Saturday. Well, that's been the news, sports and weather for tonight. From the news team, I'm Tokana Hasavi Jr. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay happy. Good night.